The auction block. The room was dark, cold, and smelled like oil and metal. Lights flickered above, casting long shadows over broken cages and rusted chains. In the center stood a raised platform, an auction block. On it, under the harsh lights, stood a girl. Her name was Lyra. Her silver hair was dirty and tangled. Bruises covered her arms and legs. Her pale violet skin was marked with old scars. She wore a torn gray dress that barely covered her. Flies buzzed around her, landing on her skin. She didn't move. She didn't even blink. Crowds gathered around the stage. Alien traders, pirates, and buyers from many worlds whispered and laughed. "She's not even worth 1 credit," someone said. "Looks half dead," said another. The auctioneer, a fat creature with green skin and metal teeth, smirked. "This one," he said, "is from a noble bloodline. A rare catch. Once a princess, now just property." The crowd jeered. No one raised a hand. No one made an offer. Lyra heard every word, but her face stayed empty. She had learned to stop crying. Pain was part of her world now. Her planet was gone. Her family was gone. Everything she once had, gone. Now she was here on a dirty stage being sold like trash. "Any bids?" the auctioneer shouted. "Come on. Even for scrap?" Silence. The auctioneer growled. "Fine. Last chance. 1 credit. Anyone?" Nothing. Then, someone in the back moved. A figure stepped forward, boots heavy on the floor, tall, broad shoulders, and wearing a long brown coat. A human. The room grew, quiet. All eyes turned to him. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. And this one didn't look like a traitor or a criminal. He looked calm, serious. He looked at Lyra. Their eyes met. For a moment she thought he might say something cruel. Maybe spit like the others. Maybe laugh. But he didn't. He raised his hand. "I'll take her," he said. The auctioneer blinked. "What?" I said. The man repeated. "I'll take her." You want this one?" The auctioneer scratched his head. "She's no good. Broken. Probably won't survive the night." "How much?" the human asked. 3 credits, the auctioneer said quickly. "Plus transfer fees." The man nodded and threw a pouch of coins on the table. "Keep the change." Lyra still didn't move. She didn't understand. Why? Why would a human buy her? What did he want? The man stepped up onto the platform. He removed his coat and gently placed it over her shoulders. The warmth surprised her. "Can you walk?" he asked quietly. She nodded but didn't speak. He placed a hand on her back, guiding her off the stage. The crowd watched in silence. No one laughed now. No one understood what just happened. They left the auction hall and walked into the night. Outside, stars blinked in the black sky. Ships hovered above like giant insects. The man led her to a small craft parked nearby. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside it was clean and warm. He helped her sit on a bed. "You're safe now," he said. Still, she said nothing. "My name is Raynor," he added. "What's yours?" She looked at him, unsure. Then softly, "Lyra." He nodded. "Rest, Lyra. We'll talk later." He stepped out of the room, leaving her alone. For the first time in many weeks, Lyra felt something she had forgotten. Hope. The man who raised his hand. The hum of the ship's engine was soft, almost like a lullaby. It should have helped her sleep, but Lyra couldn't rest. She sat on the edge of the soft bed, still wearing the human's coat. It was too big for her, but warm. Her fingers gripped the edge tightly. She didn't understand why this man had taken her from the auction. No one had ever shown her kindness without a price. She waited for the trick, the demand, the pain that always followed hope. But it didn't come. Outside her room she could hear him, Raynor, walking slowly. Calm steps. Not the heavy boots of guards. Not the sharp click of a trader coming to yell or hurt her. Just quiet footsteps and the gentle beeping of buttons. She stood and walked to the door. It opened without a lock. Lyra stepped out. The hallway was small, clean, and well lit. The air smelled fresh. No smoke, no blood, no rot. It felt strange. She followed the sound and found Raynor in the control room. He sat in the pilot's seat looking at the stars outside the window. When he saw her, he didn't act surprised. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. She didn't answer. Her eyes scanned the room. No weapons pointed at her. No cages, no collars, just light and peace. "Where are we going?" she finally asked, voice dry and low. "Away from the auction world," he said. "Toward something better." She frowned. "Why me?" He turned to face her. "What do you mean? You could have chosen anyone. There were others. Stronger ones. Prettier ones. Cleaner ones. Why me? I'm nothing." He looked at her for a long time, then said, "You were standing." Lyra didn't understand. "What?" Everyone else on that stage was crying, broken, begging, but he pointed gently. "You were still standing. Barely, but you didn't fall." She looked down at her feet. She had forgotten she was standing. It wasn't a choice, it was survival. "I've seen soldiers fall," he said. "I've seen warriors give up. You didn't." That meant something. "So what now?" she asked. "What do you want from me?" Raynor stood and walked to a locker. He opened it and pulled out a small medical kit. Gently, he set it on the table. "Now," he said, "I help you heal." Lyra blinked. "Just that?" "For now." She sat across from him. He opened the kit and began cleaning the wounds on her arms. He didn't flinch at the old scars, didn't pull back at the bruises. He worked slowly, carefully, like she mattered. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered. "It doesn't have to," he replied. Just then a sharp beep came from the ship's control panel. Raynor stood quickly and checked the screen. His face grew serious. "What is it?" Lyra asked, nervous. He didn't answer right away. After a moment, he said, "A signal, someone's following us." Her heart raced. "Them?" "Maybe," he said. "But they're far. We have time." "You should let me go," she said. "I'm trouble. They want me. Not you." Raynor turned and looked her in the eyes. "You think I didn't know that when I raised my hand?" Lyra felt something stir. Inside her, not fear, something else, something she hadn't felt since her home burned Worth. "Then why help me?" she asked again. His voice was soft but firm. "Because no one else did." The next day they landed on a small moon, a quiet outpost with just a few buildings. People in rags walked slowly, faces tired. Children hid behind doors. Lyra saw fear, in their eyes, the same fear she once had. Raynor walked into a building and came out with bags of medicine and food. Lyra stayed by the ship, watching. An old alien woman approached her. She had wrinkled skin and walked with a cane. She looked at Lyra's face and the marks on her arms. "They hurt you?" she asked. Lyra nodded slowly. The woman touched her hand gently. "And still, you stand." Those same words again. Lyra didn't know how to feel. Suddenly, a loud sound shook the ground. A ship flew overhead, dark and sharp like a blade. Lyra recognized the symbol on its side, the mark of the empire that had destroyed her people. Panic rose in her chest. Raynor saw it too. He rushed back to her side. "Get inside," he said quickly. "They found me," she whispered. "They're going to take me again." Raynor knelt beside her. "Not if I can help it." The enemy ship didn't land. It flew away, scanning the area, then vanished into the clouds. But the message was clear. They were being hunted. Lyra sat in the ship that night thinking about the old woman's words, and Raynor's. She had been sold, chained, mocked, and forgotten. But now, for the first time in so long, someone saw more in her. And that scared her more than anything. The journey begins. Lyra woke to the soft thrum of the ship's engines and the scent of something warm. Food. Her eyes blinked open slowly. The jacket Rayner gave her was still wrapped around her shoulders, its weight comforting. For a moment she forgot she was a runaway, a hunted slave. For a moment she felt safe. But the moment passed. Memories flooded back. The auction, the crowd's laughter, the Empire's mark on the ship that had scanned them. They were being hunted. And it was because of her. She sat up, heart pounding. She needed to run. She needed to disappear. Rayner didn't deserve this danger. She couldn't let him get hurt. But when she tried to stand, the ship jolted slightly, dropping out of hyperspace. The sudden shift made her stumble and the door to her room slid open. Rayner stood there with a metal bowl in one hand and a calm look on his face. "You're awake," he said, stepping inside. "You didn't eat yesterday. Figured you'd be hungry." She didn't answer. She looked past him toward the hallway. He noticed. "Don't try to leave," he said softly. "Not because I'll stop you, but because out there, it's worse." Lyra sat back down, unsure. He set the bowl. Beside her on the bed, a simple meal, warm and real. Not the moldy scraps she was used to in the slave camps. She picked it up slowly and took a bite. It burned her mouth a little. Real food did that. "Why are we stopping?" she asked between bites. "Fuel station. Just a short stop. Quiet moon on the edge of a forgotten system," Rayner said. "We'll move again soon." She put the bowl down and asked, "Why are you helping me?" He didn't smile, didn't joke. His voice was calm, steady, like someone who'd seen too much and survived it all. "Because a long time ago," he said, "someone helped me, and I didn't understand why either. But without them, I wouldn't be here." She looked at him. "And now you do the same?" He nodded. "When you get a second chance, you give one too." The refueling station was nearly dead. A gray sky hung over the small buildings. 2 old ships were parked nearby, rusted and useless. Only one fuel bot moved between them. Rayner stepped out first. He carried a small pack and spoke with a quiet man in a black cloak trading coins for fuel chips. Lyra followed at a distance. She kept her eyes low, her hood up. She didn't want to be seen. But someone saw her. A small alien boy, barely 10 years old, peeked around a corner. His green skin was smudged with dirt. When he saw her, he froze. His eyes widened in fear. "That's her," he whispered, backing away. "She's one of them." His voice wasn't loud, but loud enough. 2 other workers turned their heads. Whispers began. An imperial witch. One of the broken bloodline. They said she killed her own people. Lyra stepped back, her heart racing. Rayner noticed and stepped between her and the others. "Enough," he said. A tall worker stepped forward. "You traveling with that thing?" he growled. "She's marked. She brings death." Rayner didn't blink. "She brings truth and strength, something you seem to fear." The man's hand dropped to a tool at his belt. Rayner's hand was already on his own weapon. Tension crackled like a live wire. Lyra couldn't breathe. But before it exploded into violence, a woman from the back shouted, "Leave them alone. He paid fair and she hasn't hurt anyone." It was an old mechanic. Her arm was metal, her voice strong. She walked over and stood next to Rayner. "We've all lost something," she said. "Let them be." The angry worker backed off, but not without a glare. Rayner looked down at Lyra. "Still want to run?" She shook her head. They returned to the ship. Silence filled the space between them. Once inside, Lyra finally spoke. "Why didn't you fight them?" "Because they're not the enemy," he said. "Just scared." "Of me?" "Yes." She looked down at her hands. "Maybe they're right." He turned to her. "Do you want them to be?" Her head snapped up. "You get to decide what you become now," he said. "They don't." That night, while Rayner slept in the control chair, Lyra explored the ship. She found the cargo bay, a small storage room, an old photo of Rayner and a woman she didn't recognize. Maybe a sister. maybe a friend. The walls held stories she couldn't read yet. But one thing caught her attention. A long, narrow case. She opened it. Inside was a blade. Not a gun, not a bomb, but a sword, hand-forged, glowing faintly at the edges. Human-made, ancient, clean. As she reached out to touch it, a voice behind her spoke. "It's not for killing," Raynor said. She turned quickly. "It's for reminding," he continued, "that we were something more before all this." She looked back at the blade. "What were you before?" "A soldier, a ghost. Then a man who wanted to forget everything he did. And now?" He smiled for the first time. Not big, not bright, but real. "Now I'm the fool who raised his hand." Later, as the ship flew again through the cold stars, Lyra sat by the window and watched them pass. Her reflection stared back, thin, tired, and scarred. But inside her something had changed. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. The Empire still hunted her. The galaxy still feared her. But someone had chosen her. Not as a weapon. Not as a slave. As a person. And for the first time she wondered, what if she could become more than just someone who was saved? What if she could save others too? The broken Stara blue star shimmered in the distance as Raynor's ship approached a fractured world. The planet below was cracked and bleeding. Once green, it now looked like glass had shattered across its surface. Lyra stood beside the window, staring at the broken land. "What happened to this planet?" she asked. Raynor didn't answer right away. "War," he said finally. "Same kind that took yours. Maybe worse." "Why are we coming here?" He glanced at her. "They need help, medicine, supplies, and a reason to hope." She turned, away from the window. "They won't want that from me." He didn't deny it. They landed near a battered outpost. Steel walls barely held together. Towers leaned like dying trees. The flag outside was torn, colors faded. Children peeked from behind crates, eyes wide with fear. As Lyra and Raynor stepped down the ramp, a group of guards met them. Raynor raised his hands peacefully. "We brought what you asked for. Antibiotics, clean water filters, stabilizers." A tall man stepped forward, his eyes sharp and cold. "We didn't ask for her." His gaze locked on Lyra. "She's not with the Empire," Raynor said calmly. "Doesn't matter. We know what her kind did. They lit our skies on fire, dropped bombs on our schools." Lyra stepped back, her breath shaky. "I didn't do that," she whispered. "Your bloodline did." "Enough." A woman's voice rang out. A young woman with silver armor stepped forward. Her dark hair was tied back, her expression calm but fierce. "We're not the Empire anymore, and we don't judge by blood." The cold man looked at her with disbelief. "You'd trust that?" "I trust what people do now, not what their ancestors did." Raynor handed her a small device. "These are the supplies. The rest is in the ship." She nodded and waved them in, but the glares didn't stop. Inside the outpost, things were worse than they appeared from above. Sick people lay on the floor, children coughed in corners. The air smelled like rust and old pain. Lyra tried to keep her head down, but whispers followed her. "Look at her eyes. Don't touch her." Why did the human bring her? Lyra helped anyway. She passed out water filters, handed out food packets. When a small girl dropped her bowl, Lyra knelt to help pick it up. The child stared at her. "Are you going? To hurt us?" Lyra froze. "No. Never. Mama says you're a ghost." Lyra gently handed her the bowl. "Your mama's just scared." The girl took the food, then hugged Lyra's leg before running off. It felt like fire in her chest. Soft and painful. No one had hugged her in years. Raynor watched from a distance. He saw her change, slowly but surely. That night, the outpost held a small gathering. Not a celebration, just people sharing food, stories, warmth. Raynor sat with the guards, speaking quietly about trade routes and safety zones. Lyra stayed, alone near the wall, until the armored woman approached. You're stronger than you look, she said. Lyra shrugged. I'm just tired of running. Then stop running. I don't know how. The woman pointed at the people around them. They're still standing just like you, but they need someone brave enough to show them how to stop being afraid. That's not me, Lyra said. Maybe not yet. The woman extended her hand. My name's Captain Thera. Lyra hesitated, then shook it, but peace never lasted long. Just before dawn, alarms screamed through the outpost. Red lights flashed. Soldiers rushed to the gates. Raynor was already moving. They've found us. Lyra ran to the control screen. A black ship hovered above. Sleek, silent, deadly. It bore the mark of the Imperial Purifiers, the secret force sent to eliminate surviving bloodlines of fallen rulers. Her bloodline. They're here for me, she said. Then we protect these people, Raynor said. They'll die because of me. No, they'll fight because of you. In the central hall, the leaders gathered. Captain Thera pointed at the map. We can't outgun them, but we can delay them long enough to evacuate the children. What about the purifier? Someone asked. Raynor looked at Lyra. She's not a target, she's the answer. Me? Lyra whispered. You know their language, their tactics, and you still have your name. She looked around. You want me to lead? Not just lead, Thera said. Stand for something. Lyra's legs shook, but deep inside, something hardened. She was tired of hiding, tired of being a symbol of fear. Maybe she could become a symbol of resistance. The battle began before the sun rose. Black pods dropped from the sky. Metal soldiers stepped out, faceless and fast. Outpost guards fired back. Smoke and screams filled the air, but at the center stood Lyra, wearing no armor, holding no gun but walking straight toward the enemy. The purifier paused. You are Lyra, daughter of House Solon, it said in a cold voice. I was, she replied. Now I'm just Lyra. You carry forbidden blood. I carry memory, she said. And I choose to protect, not destroy. The purifier lifted its weapon. A shot rang out, but not from the purifier. Raynor had taken the shot. The purifier dropped. The soldiers hesitated. Lyra stood tall. This is your last warning. Leave this place. They didn't move. Then the people of the outpost stepped forward. Guards, medics, even children with sticks. They stood behind her, united, and the enemy retreated. Hours later, the fires were out. The wounded were treated, and Lyra stood beside Raynor, who had taken a hit to the shoulder but smiled through the pain. You really stood your ground, he said. I didn't do it alone. You never had to. As they prepared to leave, the broken star Captain Thera handed Lyra a symbol, a pin shaped like a flame. What's this? She asked. The mark of those who choose to rise from ashes. Lyra pinned it to her jacket. She had been a slave, a ghost, a feared relic of the past. But now, she was something new, a flame in the dark. The enemy returns. The stars outside Raynor's ship drifted like slow sparks in the dark. Lyra sat near the window again, the flame pin from Captain Thera still on her jacket. Her hands were steady now, her eyes clearer. But peace is never quiet for long. Raynor walked into the room, holding a small black device. It blinked once, then red. We've got a signal, he said. Lyra looked up. Another purifier? No, he replied. Something worse. The message was short, but the words sent chills through both of them. The air lives. Retrieval initiated. No mercy. The transmission had come from deep Imperial space. Whoever sent it knew who Lyra was, and wasn't planning to stop like the last group. Raynor's face turned grim. They're not just hunting you now. They're calling in the strongest. Lyra stared at the screen. They want to erase me. Properly this time. He nodded. They sent the Eviscerator. She blinked. That's not a name. That's a monster. It's both. For 3 days they moved between dead systems and asteroid belts trying to stay hidden. Rayner's ship was fast but not made for long stealth missions. Food grew short, fuel even shorter, and worse, something was wrong with the engines. "It's not damage," Rayner muttered under the floor panel. "It's like someone's watching." Hushing through the ship, Lyra froze. "You think they planted something?" Rayner nodded slowly. "When they scanned us back at the broken star, maybe they slipped in a tracker." Panic gripped her chest. "We led them to everyone. We moved fast," Rayner said. "They won't be able to track the others unless we stop." But even he sounded unsure. On the fourth day, as they floated near a dead moon, the tracker's signal blinked again. Closer. Too close. "It's here," Rayner said. "He found us." Outside the window, a massive shape unfolded from the black. A ship unlike anything Lyra had seen. Black, smooth, and silent. It made no sound. Not even a hum. It didn't glow. It didn't flash. It just was. The eviscerator had arrived. "Can we run?" Lyra asked. Rayner didn't answer. "Rayner," she repeated louder. He shook his head. "No time. We fight." The enemy ship fired a pulse wave. Not a weapon. Something worse. A burst of dark energy that shut down lights, power, even sound. The ship groaned under its force. Lyra stumbled. Everything went dark. When the emergency lights flickered on, he was already on the ship. The eviscerator. Not a machine, not a man. Both. His body was smooth metal, but part of it moved like skin. His face had no eyes, only a long red line glowing where eyes should be. He walked down the hallway slowly, as if time moved differently for him. Rayner stood in front of him, gun raised. "You won't take her," he said. The eviscerator tilted his head. "You misunderstand. I'm not here to take her. I'm here to end her." Then he moved. Too fast. Rayner fired, missed. The eviscerator struck with a wave of his hand, slamming Rayner against the wall. He didn't fall, but he staggered, bleeding from the mouth. Lyra screamed and ran forward, but the eviscerator pointed, a finger, and she froze. Not by chains, not by touch, by pressure, telepathic control. "You carry a cursed legacy," he said in a voice that echoed inside her skull. "You are the last of a broken bloodline. Your death will seal peace." Her hands shook. Her vision blurred. Then she saw Rayner. He was down, but still moving. Still trying to get up. "Why?" she cried. "Why do you hate us?" "Because your kind made gods of themselves," the eviscerator replied, "and broke everything." Her lips trembled. "I'm not them," he tilted his head. "Prove it." He released her and she dropped to her knees. But she didn't stay down. Slowly, painfully, Lyra stood. "You want to see what I am?" she asked. "Fine." She turned, walked to the blade cabinet, and took out the old sword. The one Rayner had told her was not for killing, but for remembering. She held it steady. The eviscerator laughed. A deep, cold sound. "A blade against me?" "Not just a blade," she said. "A promise." Then she charged. He struck first, fast, brutal. But she dodged just enough. His fist slammed the floor, cracking it. She spun, slicing his arm. Sparks flew. He paused, surprised. "You were trained," he said. "I taught myself." Again he attacked. Again she moved. The blade scraped his chest, cutting deep. Wires hissed. Fluid leaked. He screamed, not in pain, in rage, but Lyra didn't stop. Not now. Not ever again. She dodged a final blow, leapt high, and drove the blade deep into his chest. He staggered, eyes flaring. "That is not the end." Then he collapsed. The ship returned to silence. Lights flickered. Systems rebooted. Lyra dropped the sword and rushed to Rayner. He was alive, but weak. "You really did it," he whispered. She held his hand tightly. "You stayed?" "I said I would." Later, as they repaired the ship, Rayner handed her a data chip. "What's this?" "His memory core. Before he died, your name triggered something. A list. You're not the only one left." Lyra's breath caught. "Others?" "Maybe. Scattered. Hiding. Waiting." She stared at the chip. So it's not just about me anymore. It never was. She looked out the window at the stars, her heart burning. The Empire wanted her gone. The galaxy feared her. But now she had a blade, a purpose, and a reason to keep going. The fight for the forgotten. The stars looked the same, but something in Lyra had changed. She stood in the control room beside Raynor, staring at the glowing data chip recovered from the eviscerator's body. Her hand trembled slightly, not from fear but from the weight of the truth it carried. She wasn't the last. Others like her, survivors of the bloodline, forgotten heirs, lost voices, still lived somewhere out there. But why had they stayed hidden? "You're sure this is real?" Lyra asked. Raynor nodded, typing on the screen. "Coordinates, encrypted names. Some are recent, some are decades old. The Empire tried to bury them. This is their mistake. Or their trap," she whispered. "Either way, we need to know." The first location on the list was a cold moon on the edge of the forgotten sector. No cities, no signals, just ruins. When their ship touched down, wind howled across icy hills. Ruins stretched like bones under snow. Ancient towers fallen. Domes, cracked statues of long-dead kings buried in frost. "This place was part of your people's empire," Raynor said. Lyra stepped forward, her breath fogging in the air. "It feels like a graveyard." As they explored, they found something unexpected. A hidden hatch under a fallen arch. Raynor pried it open. A stairway led down into darkness. They followed. The bunker was deep. So deep the air turned warm again. Light flickered from old power, cells barely alive. They walked for what felt like hours until they heard movement. Then a voice. "Stop." Lyra froze. Ahead, a woman stepped into view. Tall, lean, long silver hair like Lyra's but braided tight. A scar ran across her cheek. The woman's eyes narrowed. "Name?" "Lyra," she said. "Daughter of House Solon." The woman's eyes widened. "You shouldn't be here." "I found the list," Lyra said. "I thought I was the only one left." "You're not," the woman replied, lowering her weapon. "But you should have stayed lost." Inside the hidden compound they met them. Others like Lyra, some young, some old, some quiet, broken, some fierce and angry. Survivors of the purge, members of once powerful bloodlines. They had lived underground for years, hiding, waiting. Afraid. The woman who first spoke introduced herself as Senra. "You killed the eviscerator," she said. "We saw the signal go dark. That woke every tracker and hunter in the Empire. You brought fire down on all of us." "I didn't mean to," Lyra said. "But you did," Senra snapped. "Do you know what that means?" "It means we stop hiding," Lyra replied. Murmurs spread among the others. Senra shook her head. "They still believe the Empire will rise again. They'll finish what they started." "Then let's finish what we started," Lyra said. Silence. No one spoke for a long time. Then a small boy stepped forward. "Can we really fight?" Lyra knelt down. "Only if you want to, but no one will force you." He nodded slowly. Then another joined him, and another. By morning they had agreed to move. Senra wasn't happy, but she understood. "If we stay, we die slowly," she said. "If we run, we die alone. But if we stand together, maybe not." They loaded onto Raynor's ship and two others that still worked. They planned a route to move the group to a safer world, one with allies, food, defenses. But someone was already watching. On their way out, they were ambushed. A destroyer-class warship blocked their path in orbit. Not Empire, but something worse. Mercenaries, paid killers with no flag, hired by the Empire to do what it no longer could. "They want the survivors," Raynor said. "Dead or captured." "Not this time," Lyra replied. She turned to Senra. "You trained fighters?" "Yes," she said, "but they're not ready. Then we fight smart." The battle in orbit began with decoys. Lyra's ship went silent, pretending to be dead. The two others fled toward nearby asteroids. As the mercenaries followed, Raynor's ship powered up again, slicing under the enemy's belly, launching shock charges. The children watched from below, huddled in safety bays. Lyra and Senra worked side by side. Old blood and new purpose. Blade and code. Scars and fire. Raynor took hit after hit, his shields barely holding. "I'm pushing the reactor past the limit," he shouted. "This won't hold." "We don't need to win," Lyra called back. "Just escape." They deployed one last trick, a self-destructed drone rigged with a lightwave pulse. As the mercenary ship closed in, the drone exploded, blinding sensors. All three ships vanished into hyperspace. On the next planet, Vega's Cradle, a green world with deep forests and underground lakes, they landed and finally breathed again. The survivors began building, not a city, a home. One night, as stars blinked quietly above, Raynor stood alone near the lake. Lyra approached. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded. "I didn't think it would work, but they followed you." "I didn't lead them," she said. "They chose to come." He looked at her. "You've become something more," he said. "I'm not a queen, not a hero." "No," he agreed. "You're a flame, small at first, now brighter. Will it be enough?" He looked at the sky. "They'll come again, stronger, crueler, and we'll be waiting." Lyra looked toward the campfire where the children were laughing, playing, alive.
"Then we give them a reason to remember us." Later that night, Lyra stood alone near the edge of the forest. She thought of her past, her people, her pain, her chains. Then she touched the blade on her hip, still marked from the fight. The fire in her heart burned higher now.
Not just for herself, but for every forgotten voice still waiting to be heard. The worth within Vega's Cradle was peaceful, for a time. Birds sang over the treetops. Small houses of stone and metal began to rise. Laughter echoed between the trees as the children played without fear. But deep underground, beneath the surface of this green world, weapons were being prepared. Defenses were built. Training continued day and night, because Lyra knew peace never lasted forever. And she was right. 3 weeks after the last battle, a transmission broke through the long-range scanners, a whisper in the dark. It wasn't a message. It was a warning. "This is High Commander Saran of the 2nd Imperial Fleet. We have your location. We are coming. Surrender the traitors, or we will cleanse the entire system." Raynor turned to Lyra. "They've sent the full fleet." Lyra didn't blink. "Then we show them who we are." She stood before the survivors. Over 100 now. Former nobles, forgotten children, hidden warriors. Some still healing. Some afraid. She spoke quietly. "They want us to kneel." She paused. "Let that hang in the air, but we've knelt before, and all we got was chains." She lifted her chin. "This time, we rise." They roared. Not loud, but strong, like thunder gathering behind a storm. As the enemy fleet approached, Senra took command of ground defenses. Raynor and his small crew worked the anti-air turrets and intercept cannons. The forest was layered with traps, pulses, mines, confusion fields. Lyra, though, didn't prepare weapons. She prepared herself. Deep in the forest, she meditated beside a waterfall. She remembered every name they'd lost, every tear shed in silence, every wound, every scar, and she whispered one truth over and over. "I am not their fear. I am their flame." The sky turned black when the ships arrived. Massive destroyers hovered above like cities in the air. Dropships fell like comets. The land shook under their arrival. From a hilltop, Lyra watched them come. "Any final plans?" Raynor asked, checking his rifle. "Yes," she said. "Run? No." She turned to face him. "I'm going to surrender." It was madness. Even Senra shouted, "No, they'll kill you the moment you step out." But Lyra stayed calm. "They're coming for me, not the people, not the children. They want to destroy the symbol, not the fire. You are the fire, Raynor said. She smiled gently. Then let me burn where it matters. Alone, unarmed, and dressed in simple clothes, Lyra walked out of the trees and into the field. Soldiers aimed weapons at her. Machines buzzed with energy. But she didn't stop. Until she reached the edge of the Imperial camp. Then she raised her hands. I'm Lyra of House Solon, she said loudly. I surrender. Commander Saren stepped forward, tall, armored, gold-lined, his voice cut like steel. Traitor. Survivor, she corrected. He sneered. You think coming alone will change anything? Yes, he laughed. You're just a girl. No, she said. I'm a spark, and you're standing in a forest. He paused. Then, an explosion shook the ground. From the trees, the hidden defenders attacked. Not to win, just enough to create chaos. But Lyra didn't run. Kill her, Saran ordered. Soldiers charged. And that's when the trap was triggered. A mirror field, a new shield design Raynor and Senra had built, activated around her, deflecting the first shots, just long enough. Lyra moved fast, grabbed a blade from one fallen guard, spun, disarmed two more, slashed through the line, and then she faced Saran. He pulled out a plasma spear. You're not strong enough, he said. I don't have to be, she replied. They clashed, steel and fire, blade and spear, past and present. Each strike shook the air. Saran was trained, fast, cruel, but Lyra had something else, purpose. She fought for the lost, for the silenced, for the scared children who once looked at her with doubt but now with hope. Saran slammed her down. You're just a symbol, a broken girl wearing dead royalty. Lyra rose again, blood on her face, breath ragged. Then fear the broken, she said. She lunged and struck. Her blade pierced his chest. He gasped, fell to his knees. It's over, she whispered. When the rest of the Imperial forces saw their commander fall, confusion spread. And then, the people of Vega's cradle stepped forward. Not just fighters. Everyone. Mothers, fathers, elders, even children. They didn't scream. They didn't cheer. They stood, unafraid. The Empire didn't fire again. They turned. They fled. Because the fire had spread, in the weeks that followed, news of what happened traveled across the stars. More survivors came. More voices joined. Not just nobles, but workers, aliens, humans. People tired of fear. Lyra didn't claim a throne. She didn't wear a crown, but everyone called her something else now. The Flamekeeper. On the final night of the cold season, Raynor stood beside her as they watched new buildings rise across Vega's cradle. You could rule them, he said. I'd rather walk with them, she replied. He smiled. What now? Now we help others find their worth, she said. Like you helped me. He looked at her gently. I didn't save you. No, she said. But you reminded me that I was worth saving. And then quietly, like a final star blinking into light, they stepped forward into the future together.